Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump and today we're going to be talking about Mercy. I'd forgive you for forgetting who that actually is, as she's hardly been around much recently. What with Ana and Lucio coming back in a big way, there's not really been a lot of room in this recent meta for the Swiss miss. Just to let you guys know, I won't be using any Mercy gameplay in today's video because, as everyone knows, my Mercy was always trash tier. So instead of insulting all the Mercy players in the audience with terrible gameplay, I'll just be insulting all the Lucio and Ana mains instead. And for various reasons that I'll point out in the video, it's actually kind of difficult to get Mercy gameplay in this meta anyway. So with that all said, let's crack on. The reason I want to talk about her is that for various reasons, nobody is ever really happy with the state of the character. Too strong and she suffocates the support slots, too weak and a huge percentile of players have their favourite hero be a much less rewarding pick. Now on a personal level, I'll admit, I was never really a Mercy player or a particular fan of her kit, whichever iteration of it we're talking about. More on that in just a moment, but I do totally understand why so many people are. Just because I like Ana's impactful high skill ceiling kit and this meta is more fun for me, that doesn't mean that it's totally fine if Blizzard nerf a hero out of use or close to it. I'm not saying that's 100% what's happened with Mercy, but there is an argument that she might have been left a bit undertuned by the most recent round of changes. I can hear many people say it's about time. Mercy was way too strong for way too long, a sentiment that I've expressed before and still do largely feel. The pro player Moth, who's playing for Team USA at this year's World Cup, also expressed his thoughts on Twitter about Mercy, saying, "I'm so happy I finally got the opportunity to flex my hero pool on LAN. I hope Mercy is never meta again." Perhaps that's what happens when you're forced to play only one hero for virtually a whole season of the Overwatch League. And therein lies the problem with Mercy, or one of them. It's very, very hard to take her kit with mid-fight res and make it either not anemic in comparison to other supports or too dominant. The way she is now, it's not outrageous to call her a bit of a throw pick. If your team has a Mercy and your opponents have an Ana instead or a Lucio, your team is just so much weaker in the mid-fight, it's not even funny. Speed boost, anti-nades, sleeps, new nano and its combos, which essentially can work like a pseudo-res anyway, these are all extremely powerful mid-fight winning tools. The basic concept of cooldown res Mercy, bringing back a teammate to redress numerical disadvantage or put your team back ahead in terms of trades, just can't compete with hero kits that could have already decided a fight before you ever got a chance to do anything. It's the same reason why Mercy sucks against fast death balls like Goat's comp. With a Lucio moving your opponents at speed into your team to brawl, the fight isn't decided over a long period of time where res might be able to get value, it's decided right now with ferocious intensity. What's the point of one res when 4 members of your team are already down? When Mercy could pocket say a Zen or a squishy DPS with 60 heals per second and effectively protect them from a Winston dive, the risk to that dive tank made this resource expensive for them. That's why the game slowed down in the first place. Diving backlines was less efficient than using Zen Mercy yourself and hoping you got more picks. Now that she can't do that with the lower heals, she can buy time for a target, sure, but that's all that it is. And that goes for her ult too, that's another point. I'd argue both the improved Drop the Beat and Nano are way better than Valk. They both give a team a distinct edge, one in sustain and the other in fragging. Valk can kinda do both, but nowhere near as sharply. She's just a bad pick in a lot of circumstances. I mean, she's still excusable on maps where a pharmacy is good, or on maps with lots of high ground control battles like say Gibraltar, where Widow v Widow battles are very prominent. If you're in a Widow duel and you have a Mercy and the other Widow doesn't, you're still at a massive advantage even now. Basically any map or situation where she has vertical escape options, she's still usable, but really a major factor in why she can't compete is because Brig is as strong as she is. What's the point of playing a hero that has to hide and run away when you could just as easily take one that hides and gets insta-kills? None really. And that's true at any rank. And speaking of different ranks, that's what I want to talk about next. I think it's true to say we can all get blinkered by our view of what Overwatch is. I only really play comp and I'm Diamond. That immediately puts me in a very small percentile of the player base. You might not think it because of the vast skill differences between Diamond and the ranks above it, but even being that high puts you in a tiny minority. So from my view, I can be happy with Mercy being worse because in my world, the game feels better that way. But that's not the world that a lot of players live in. To Blizzard's credit, part of the genius of the game design of Overwatch is that traditionally different heroes prosper or struggle at different ranks depending on the skill level present. Reaper, for example, can just dominate all the way up the lower ranks, even into Diamond sometimes, as the higher skill heroes required to make him look average or limited are beyond the players at those tiers. That's why the idea of Symmetra being OP went on for so long. Sure, she wasn't in Masters, but in Silver and Gold, where everyone's mechanics are worse? You might scoff, but again, I'll remind you, Gold and Platinum is where most players are. The game is just not the same at these different tiers. So returning that to Mercy, it could be true that the latest nerfs make her worse in comparison to, say, Ana at High Diamond and above, where players are beginning to get the mechanics together to be able to play Ana competently, but Mercy could still be very playable at lower tiers because of how direct her kit is. But even then, if a Gold player can start learning how to throw an anti-nade at tanks, which isn't that hard to do they not just win more than if they picked Mercy? Do they not just rank up easier if they learn to play a competent Brig? Her kit is straightforward too. This is something I really need your guys' feedback on actually. If you do play at these tiers, who do you think is the more viable option? I guess having a healer is always better than not, irrespective of meta. But a big problem, as I said right at the beginning, is that Mercy players aren't happy with the state of Mercy. Sure, I am in an indirect way, because there's more room for my favourite hero now. You might be too, but they're not, and there's a lot of Mercy players, more than any other character. But here's the worst bit. Blizzard, by reworking her and giving her res on a cooldown, have painted themselves into a bit of a corner. That ability will always have the potential to take over the game. The only reason it's not right now is because they made other parts of her kit worse and buffed 2 other supports who excel at the mid-fight, so she's basically got no place anymore bar the exceptions I talked about. So what do they even do? Leave her in this state where even Mercy players say she's boring and unfun? At least when she had big res, there was a skill to hiding and ulting at the right time, eating up all your opponent's ult value, or in deciding when to tempo res a few key teammates instead. That's a big part of the reason a lot of the forum threads ask for a revert in the first place, and despite what people said, I don't think it was ever OP. The further up the ranks you went, the less value a big res got. Better players would just kill a res team over again quite often, but at least it was a tangible play style. This, sadly, is just the tip of the iceberg with this character. She faces so many more challenges than other heroes do, and not all of them have to do with in-game performance. I want to talk about the Overwatch forums more in depth for just a moment. Now, it's become a bit of a meme how many Mercy threads there are on there, and it is true there are an awful lot. A sizable portion of them are still arguing for Mercy to be reverted, as I said, or they're lamenting the constant attention she's received from Big Daddy Jeff's nerf hammer, and how the reworked version of her just isn't fun anymore. Now, independently, this forum reaction isn't that strange, but what is a bit concerning is the tone of some of the discourse. A lot of Mercy players are not happy, and when they express that, forum posts can get locked or removed before being replaced by new ones essentially saying the same things. That's why there's always so many, because a portion of the Mercy player base is in a constant rotating battle with Blizzard. Now, on some level, I can see Blizzard's moves to shut down repeated posts as understandable. As far as I can tell, they have absolutely no intention of reverting Mercy or explaining their reasoning further, as they feel like they've already made things as plain as possible. But at the same time, these issues the players have with her refuse to go away. Now, some of you watching might feel the forums don't represent everybody. She needed nerfing numerous times post-rework, as she was the very definition of a must-pick for months on end, and it's nice for other supports to get in a look in this meta. That's all fine and dandy, and I mostly agree. But here's something I thought about recently. Mercy is, by all accounts, the most popular hero in Overwatch. Not just the most popular support, the most popular hero overall. Jeff Kaplan has talked about it many times. It's one thing to have character loyalists on the forums complaining about the rework for, say, Sim, who is a popular but very niche hero and always has been, and quite another to have so many people upset at the state of the most played character in history. But it's deeper than that even still. Ask yourself, why is Mercy so popular? Well, my educated guess is that she's the most accessible hero for many people to pick up and play, particularly if they've never been an FPS player historically. I hesitate to use the word easy, as that sells players a little bit short, but certainly mechanically speaking, she takes far less to play than harder burst impact heroes like Widow, McCree or Genji, which is important because the lower the skill requirement to play, the larger the player base who can actively play a hero. How many people can actually play Widow, for example? Sure, we can all select her at the hero selection screen, but how many of us actually have the skill to leverage her kit properly? Not that many, not in comparison to the total amount of people who want to play the game. One of Overwatch's biggest strengths is that it has this big cast of characters that all have different cool abilities for a wide range of mechanical talent levels. That's why it sold so many copies in the first place. But with Mercy, Blizzard has a balancing act to perform that I'm not even sure it's possible to pull off. The reason is, the whole problem with mid-fight res was that it essentially gave players burst impact, like those harder heroes we talked about, but in reverse and at a much lower skill cost. That that arguably messed up the whole skill to impact relationship of particularly supports, but arguably the whole game. That's why she was in every match. You just could not really play without this ability because it was actually overpowered in the truest sense. It was too good for the skill required to use it. Nothing else could offer up the same value for the same cost or at the same low risk. Now, it's arguable her power is on par with the skill it takes to implement. That might sound harsh, but I do think it's true. But the end result of that is we may have a better game in the competitive sense, but there may also be a huge amount of players left alienated with an unfun and unrewarding version of their favourite hero. I don't think that's good for the game either. The reworked Mercy feels like a bit of an unsolvable problem, forever caught between overpowered and too weak. Ask yourself, would it really be that bad if we went back to big res Mercy? She'd at least have a counterplay option to all this mid-fight power with ult economy value. Sure, she'd return to having no mid-fight to speak of, but she doesn't anyway right now, not in comparison to everything else. That's the whole point. Mercy is quite bad, and a lot of players don't mind because the memory of how stifling she was at her strongest is still fresh in our minds. But is that fair or right to all the players that love her, that play the game because that hero was their way in? I don't think so, really. Don't misunderstand me. I don't want her to be the meta, I just want her to have a place in it, like every other hero. And right now, I think it's easily arguable that she doesn't. What do you guys think? Revert or nah? Leave her where she is? I expect all possible variants of opinion in our comment section, and I look forward to reading them as I'm just interested in where the community is right now regarding her. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a rating. If you never want to miss another video of ours again, please click the bell icon next to the subscribe button on our channel to join the notification squad. You'll be in great company. And finally, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitter. It's where you can find updates about new videos and other cool stuff. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time,